Once, two teams were born, the Beans and the Knights. They lived in harmony for a good time, but they eventually found conflict. After a long, challenging battle, the Knights were victorious, and the Beans had to stand down. Eventually, a damaged Bean army had a new foe upon them, the Ree army, and war instantly erupted. The two would soon find peace, though. One final enemy would emerge for the Beans, though, the Cheese army. The Beans attempted to fight back against the Cheese army, but the Cheese army, even with the help of the Ree army, was way more powerful than the Beans had expected. The Beans, knowing that a loss was guaranteed if they didn't do something, suggested a diabolical, preposterous, nefarious idea. A diplomat from the Bean army was sent to the Knights' base, and a peace deal was soon made to fight against the Cheese army. The final battle was about to begin, but it never happened. The two teams never fought. So now we wonder, what happened? I've been wondering that question for a long time, and I think I may have the answer to it. Hello everyone, we're back with another video. The Bean and Cheese Army, the whole war, was one of the most insane things that has happened in my entire life. It may have seemed like a simple little debate between my cousin and I over who's better between beans or cheese, but this whole storyline had teams, battles, lies, everything. Let's get into the story. It all started back in 5th grade. This was the year that we were on Zoom because a certain something had popped up. My teacher told our class that we'd have to come up with a class name. A class name she made something similar to a team name. Dodgers, Yankees, etc. During this time period, I was a part of a group that could only be described as the guys. Anyway, we knew that we have to come up with a name that would have a lasting impact, because whatever we chose would stick around forever. And after a solid 10 minutes, we finally had an idea. Boys and I decided that our class name would have something to do with beans. Soon, the voting began, and it got down to two final class names: Bean Brains and Quarantine Nights. The way the final voting process worked was you would raise your hand if you voted for candidate A or candidate B. As we were doing the votes, we counted the votes to see who would be the name for our class. And we realized we had won. But then something disappointing happened. We were told that the name of Quarantine Nights had won. Yeah, we were cheated out of our win. Immediately, the people began to revolt on Google Classroom. Those that argued against the vote on Google Classroom were immediately shut down by the supporters of Quarantine Nights, though. The teacher had to step in to shut down the idea of Bean Brains. The Beans had lost, but we decided that the Bean Army, our name, while we may not have won, we were still strong together. Offsprings of the Bean Brain's name, such as Big Brain, had popped up, but none were as problematic as one. The Ree Army, led by my absolute goober of a friend at the time that we'll call Guxy. Immediately disagreements about who should control the alliance against Quarantine Nights had begun, and partly for jokes, and partly as a serious thing, conflict broke out. More wars on Google Classroom began to break out. Eventually, though, we were being annoying, and my teacher decided to step in, and peace was made. But not for long. So I told my cousin about this whole thing, right? And I said, hey, we don't have any enemies anymore, we're chilling, stuff like that, right? And then he says, you know what if I be their new enemy? The two armies immediately went to war. After a ton of useless debating and arguing, we decided, let's finish this and do a final battle. The original plan was to do like a Nerf gun fight, or like a Nerf war if you prefer. since my cousin and I were like 11 at the time and absolute goobers, we couldn't plan it properly. Eventually, the plans for the Nerf war were canceled, but before that, I had reached out to the person who had come up with the name Quarantine Nights, who we'll call Duffy, asking for a team. She didn't seem very interested. I was just doing it to spite my cousin, but you know. Anyway, we decide that the final battle is going to be in a Fortnite game. This is all the way back when I still drew my character like this, which by the way, I'm not sure why I ever did, considering that I never had curly hair. The day came and the battle was going to begin, but if you've seen one of the videos on my channel, you already know it didn't go well. The entire thing was a failure. Neither side won, and it ended in disappointment. Mainly because my friends and I, my team, were just trying to spend the whole match looking for everyone else. Anyway, everyone gets off in disappointment. I upload my video on the Beans and Cheese War, and after that, my cousin and I really didn't do much with either of our armies. Eventually, we decide that we should make peace, and both of our teams have been dormant ever since. So, after all this, it begs the question, do I wish there was a winner to the war? And to be honest, no, not at all. It would feel wrong to have a definitive winner, especially considering how many good things this whole thing brought. It built friendships, it increased our dedication, and I think best of all, it expanded our creativity. By creativity, I mean when my friend and I created 1,000 slides on a Google slideshow for a story based off of the Beans and Cheese War. By the way, I could absolutely make a video about this, but you might want to subscribe so you don't miss it. Even after all this, there is one question left. Who would have won? Come on, it's obviously the Bean Army. Bean Army for life. Are we serious?